Now that the deck is in my possession, I'm a little underwhelmed by it, but still curious. 78 tarot cards tied together with a leather string. No pouch or box to house it. This deck could have easily been thrown away, mistaken for cheap, flimsy knockoffs that you'd give to a child. Except if you were unlucky enough to activate the cards, to wake the power inside them, then there are only two escapes. A willing soul to take them, or death. But in return for such a fate, if you are to keep the cards, you need only to sate them, fulfill their purpose, and they will give you the power of the universe. At first glance, no one would ever know how many lives have fallen victim to the deck trying to succeed, or even by clumsy chance, not knowing what lies inside. But I will succeed where they couldn't. A hush falls over my office as Jimmy lays the deck down in front of me, its withered, frail edges and faded paper a stark contrast against my mahogany desk. I know those looks are deceiving, but I still can't help but to awe at the simplicity of such a powerful relic. Blake and Sean stand to either side of Jimmy, and we all circle around and stare at the deck. Sean's too cautious, or perhaps too afraid to want to touch the thing. But he also won't show his weakness by standing in the corner of the room. Blake leans down and inspects the deck without touching it.
We did it. Your plan paid off, you crazy son of a bitch.
I told you I'd get it no matter the cost. Jade practically gift-wrapped it for us.
If by gift-wrapped you mean engulfed one of my men in flames, sure, it was like goddamn Christmas morning.
Sean glowers at me. He may be ex-military, but the habit and clothes never wore off. He's my height, so we've both heard our fair shares of the "I thought you'd be bigger" joke, but neither of us are anyone to be messed with. Our friendship was hard-won, and some days even harder to maintain. They knew the risks. You knew what I would need when I asked you to recruit a team. Don't let your conscience get the better of you right now.
You said there'd be a dangerous hunt, not a dangerous theft. My men went in with a half-cocked plan because you didn't.
Jimmy had briefed them ahead of time on the dangers. It's not his fault that your men didn't keep their cool.
He wouldn't have been harmed if he hadn't thought about trashing the place, or harming Jade, or whatever ill-begotten scheme he cooked up with his thoughts outside of our goal. I told him my protection magic could only go so far, even with one of her wards lifted.
Sean shakes his head but says nothing else. Knowing what his real problem is, I lay a hand on his shoulder. You did what you could, and that's all you can ever do. He shrugged his shoulder away from me.
What's the next step?
Whenever Charles is ready, we will begin the ritual to evoke the cards.
Jimmy grabs Blake's wrist as they reach to touch the deck.
I suggest no one touches them but Charles and I for the time being.
Oh, come on, I have gloves on.
Flimsy latex gloves can still be cut. Don't let the vessel fool you. They may look like the cards, but the power that lies within is more lethal than any creature we'll encounter.
Yeah, the last guy that evoked them and didn't give them what they wanted was shredded to bits.
Into nothing, Blake. There was no trace left of him.
Well, says Jade. She still could have done something to him to take the cards for herself.
Jimmy shakes his head.
If Jade actually wanted to keep these cards, she wouldn't have let us take them. You saw her behind us as we left. If she had plans for them, she wouldn't have let them go so easily.
Jimmy's right, we shouldn't risk it. And I'm ready, whenever you are.
Let me do some preparations, then we can get started.
It's All in the Cards podcast presents The Deck of the Eternals, Part 1, Episode 1, The Magician.
My phone vibrates on the desk by the cards. Kathleen's picture lights up the screen. I know what she's going to say, but I can't ignore her. Let me take this while you get ready. Jimmy nods and all three retreat to the lounge corner in my office. I turn and face the windows behind my desk, the darkness of the night creeping into the trees as the sun sets over the mountains. A pretty view for a not-so-pretty conversation. Hello?
Did you do it?
Good to hear from you too, Kathleen.
You did, didn't you?
Kathleen, we've talked about this. There's nothing else that's going to fix things. This might not either, but I've got to at least try.
But you haven't done anything yet, right?
A second. All I take is a second to try and put on the smile. The assurance that, no sis, I haven't done anything. But even that moment's hesitation is too much.
Charles, you promised. You promised. You said you would tell me before you did anything.
Things happened too quickly, Kath. I didn't have a choice. We had to move right then.
Is this really how you want to spend your time that we have left with her?
I can see it now. Kathleen's right outside our mother's bedroom, trying to keep her voice down so as not to disturb her. Kath's been there most nights for weeks now and rides in the ambulance with her when she gets worse. But they've managed to get her stable and no hospice yet, which means there's still time. You're doing what you think needs done, Kath. I'm doing the same.
How could I possibly know that when you won't even tell me what it is you're doing?
You don't need the details. You just need to know that it's going to help Mom get more time. It's going to help us all get more time.
You should be enjoying the time you have left with her. Be here with us.
What enjoyment can I have watching my mother wither away? Every day she forgets more and more, not just who we are, but who she is.
You're being selfish.
Am I? I feel like the only one giving my all to make sure she's with us longer. I will not be patronized by my little sister.
I'll stop when you start acting like my big brother.
Then there's nothing more to say.
I love you, and I think you're wrong. But good luck, and good riddance.
I love you too, Kathleen. Tell Mom I love her too.
Come tell her yourself.
I toss my phone on my desk, shaking off the nerves my sister gets under. I know she can't possibly think I'm being selfish. She's just mad that I won't do what she wants. But this is bigger than either of us. And by the way Jimmy talks, I have no room for error. Jimmy and Blake sit on the edge of the couch, leaning over the Book of Marbus and the deck on the coffee table. The Book of Marbus is what guided us to the deck, created by the demon Marbus. It acts essentially like a manual on how to best wield and achieve the deck's goals. Jimmy is interested in its origins and power. Blake's interested in its knowledge of cryptids. Sean leans against a bookshelf, sharpening his knife, not interested in any of it. He doesn't like the metaphysical aspect of what we're doing. He believes cryptids exist. It's the ultimate hunt to him. But what we have to do to find them, and why we're finding them, he could care less. Are you ready?
This is probably the easiest part of all of it, but once we start, there is no going back. This is your last chance to change your mind.
Are you an avid country music listener? Join me, Miss Helen, and producer Kyle on the Texas Toast podcast, where we talk with some of country music's biggest stars, like Parker McCullum, Josh Abbott, and Pat Green, as well as my favorite part, new upcoming performers and songwriters like Dylan Gossett and Braxton Keith. We learn all about their journeys into music and what makes them tick, along with never-before-heard stories about the making of their songs. Join us every Tuesday and Friday wherever you get your podcasts, and you might just learn about your new favorite artists.
I stare down at the book and the deck and think of my mother and sister and everyone else touched by my mother's fate. If this is my best shot at saving her, then so be it. Start the process. Jimmy motions for Blake to stand by Sean, and for me to come closer. Once he moves me to stand where he wants me, he hands me the deck. It's lighter than I expected. Lighter than an actual deck of cards. Almost as if I'm holding a feather.
Wait until my signal, and make sure you only activate the top card.
I nod as Jimmy steps back. He raises his hand to his chest, one finger pointed up as he draws a circle of protection around us. He explained to me before that this isn't necessary, but it's better to be safe than sorry. I sense no change in the room as Jimmy's hand falls to his side, but I trust he's made us as safe as possible. At the very least, he is keeping the deck from targeting anyone other than me.
Go ahead.
I look down at the deck, running my fingers over its smooth surface. I untie the string and thumb the first card out from the deck. Jimmy told me that the symbol on the back of the deck is the symbol of Nafula, the demon that worked with Marbus to create the deck and the book. Once we find all the entities the deck requires, the power of the universe will be at my fingertips. But I don't need that much power. I just need to get more time for my family. I turn the card in my hand and see the Magician. I've seen many decks before, many depictions of this card, but never one so unsettling. Plenty of artists have created dark renditions of the Magician, but as I stared down at this hooded humanoid figure, it's more than just the imagery that sets me on edge. There's a tension around the card, dripping with dread. My shoulders tense up, but I can't let it spook me. I run my thumb over the edges of the card, willing it to take what I'm offering. It takes a few seconds before an edge cuts me deep enough to bleed. Once the speck of red stains my thumb, I push it onto the face of the Magician. It latches onto my thumb like two magnets clicking. Warmth radiates from the card as it takes more than what was spilled of my blood. I fight the urge to pull away, trusting Jimmy with the process. It wants me alive and willing, for now. Once it seems to stop feeding, I move my thumb away and sit it down on the coffee table. Jimmy and Blake move to either side of me to see what comes next. The black and white sketch of the horrid Magician turns shades of red. A pressure builds in the air as the card fills with my blood. Whispers play tricks in my ears as it finishes waking. Blake shakes with excitement, and Jimmy, ever vigilant, keeps his gaze moving around the room and back to me, waiting for the worst, ready to save us if needed. Though now I wonder, even as powerful as he is, if he can truly save us. A giggle echoes around the room. I turn and look for the source while Jimmy steps closer.
The card should be safe to touch now.
Let me see.
Blake snatches it up while I look around the room. The echoes die, but I still sense a fifth presence. Seeing nothing, I dismiss it for now. I'm sure the Magician will show himself to me in time. Jimmy looms over Blake's shoulder, staring at the card in their hands.
Now, we wait.
Wait? For how long?
However long it takes Charles to get a sense of what we're looking for. Are you already seeing or feeling anything yet?
I heard giggling.
Childlike or more ominous?
Bit of both. It didn't sound like a child. It sounded deeper, but with the playful innocence of a child.
I'm sure the deck won't waste too much time. We just need to be prepared to move when it does.
I'll have my men ready and waiting. Call me when it's time to move.
Before anyone can respond, Sean leaves the office. I was afraid of this. Sean's always down for a good hunt, but I don't think he realized how much magic was going to be required. Or maybe he didn't believe in the magic at all. Jimmy takes the card from Blake and returns it to the rest of the deck.
I suggest you try to sleep, though something tells me it may not be a restful night.
See you in the morning, then. Hopefully, I have information for you soon. It takes me forever to fall asleep. The moon dips down into my eastern window of my bedroom before I relax enough to slip off into slumber. Its light casts long shadows, none of which stir. If anything, it's too quiet, too peaceful for what we started tonight. I wonder if this is my one night of respite, the calm before the storm. As my eyes flutter, I think about her. Nightmares plague me. It's a recurring set that pops up in both nightmares and pleasant dreams. My childhood home, originally a 2-story Victorian that becomes a 4-story monstrosity when the nightmares hit. Rooms that are both familiar and strange. Rooms I grew up in and rooms that I wished were there as a child. I'm running through the house after something, or something is after me. Nothing is clear. I'm running through blurs of shadow until I run into the living room and see a small black silhouette in front of the roaring fireplace with a wool hat on its head. I move closer and realize it's not a child. It's a small old man, his toboggan and dress coat shimmering red. I'm beside him now and can see his long, scraggly beard and cane. He says nothing, but I know he wants something from me. It's like I can hear his thoughts. What do you want? The giggling from before surrounds me. I dart my head around, looking for someone else there. In the corner is a crib. I don't have to go near it to know what's inside. What baby? I don't have a baby. The old man shrugs as if to say, any old baby will do. I shake my head before I even think about what he's really asking. But the more I think, the more I wonder. If I offer you a life, will you come quietly to me? The old man runs his hand over his beard and then wags his finger at me. He crosses his arms and nods, and then he trips me with his cane and pushes me into the fire. I scream as I sit bolt upright in bed. A figure stands beside my bed, too tall to be the old man in my dream. I blink and realize it's Jimmy, and in the corner, Blake.
Sweet dreams there, boss.
Well, as usual, you were right, Jimmy. The entity decided to invade my dreams.
What did you see?
I recount my dream to them. Jimmy's face never changes, but Blake's expression flips between focused, confused, and excited.
That sounds like the Red Man from Irish folklore. They're known to be pranksters, responsible for taking human babies, leaving changelings.
It wants a baby in return for coming quietly to us.
Are you prepared to deliver on that?
Jimmy's unjudging tone is the second reason I hired him. I need his protective magic, of course, but his understanding that I will do anything to succeed is important. I don't need pushback when we already have tough tasks ahead of us. Blake must see the understanding between us.
Whoa. Kidnap a baby? Okay, I'm gonna pretend to ignore the moral quandary here. Even if you had the heart to steal a baby, how could we pull that off quickly without drawing attention to ourselves? You know Sean's team didn't sign up for that. Jimmy's powerful, but he's not invisible.
Jimmy raises an eyebrow and gives Blake a knowing glance.
Don't you dare tell me you can be invisible. Where was that the night we broke into Albright's store?
How much time do we have, Jimmy? Pulling the deck from inside his jacket, Jimmy looks at the magician card. The red outline of the image looks faded at the top by a few centimeters.
We have until the blood runs out. By the rate it's crawling, I'd say we have a day or two.
Not a lot of time for just us to steal a baby and then find the Red Man.
I'll have to sit on the sidelines for this one, boss. I'm here to help you find cryptids.
But once we have the baby, the Red Man may just come to us.
Have you lost your minds?
This from Sean, who stands in the open doorway. The incredulous look on his face cements the fact that he's going to be more trouble than I hoped. He steps further into my room, ready for a fight. A fight that we don't have time for.
Are you seriously talking about kidnapping a baby?
We were gonna worry about our souls after figuring out if it was even plausible to plan, Mr. Curry.
That should have been the only question, and even that shouldn't be a question. We don't go around stealing babies.
That is for Charles to decide, not you.
Sean stands a few inches from Jimmy, far enough away that he doesn't have to tilt his head back to stare at the man eye to eye. I knew from the get-go that Sean doesn't like Jimmy. I assumed because of his affinity with magic, but seeing them stare each other down, I know now that's not the only thing.
Charles can't do any of this without me and my team, so anytime you start to poison his brain with half-cocked, wicked schemes, I think I ought to be in on them.
Relax, Sean. I have a plan.
One that doesn't involve actually kidnapping a baby?
It doesn't, but you still may not like the alternative.
I want to go on record and state this is a terrible plan.
Noted. I watch from uphill as Sean's team makes the last preparations at our position. Orange rays still stream across the sky, night swiftly on its coattails as darkness sweeps into the forest. The excited pounding of my heart against my ribs entices me to pull the magician card from my breast pocket and examine it. Even through the faded light, I can still make out the faint outline of my hourglass. More than 2/3 gone. It took a bit longer than expected to hunt down the whereabouts of the Red Man. The power of my cards, unfortunately, aren't an exact science. However, with the deck infused with my blood, I am allotted a general sense of his location. A nudge skims at the base of my skull, pushing me closer to my target. The plan is simple and a classic. The bait and snare. With Blake as our bait, we had little concerns with luring him in Jimmy's containment. I wasn't taking any chances with this. He could be akin to a wild animal when cornered, even if he did agree to come quietly in exchange for a life. With my approximation of his location, I have little doubt we'll have him soon, because if we don't end the Red Man tonight, it will be the end for me and my mother. That is not a forecast I am willing to accept.
I don't see why one of Sean's goons isn't taking my place in this little scenario. One of them has to be more expendable.
Blake, quit your whining. The Red Man is harmless, just a bit of a prankster. Nothing more than an Irish Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah, but Ashton Kutcher doesn't want to eat a baby.
I'm not surprised when my sorry attempt to lighten the mood doesn't work. I know Blake well enough now that they tell it like it is, and their own path of reassurance is true confidence, not pretty lies. In the pit of my stomach, I said it more for my benefit than any of theirs. If I doubted any of the people here tonight, I wouldn't have hired them. But I'd be a fool to think it would be a walk in the park.
We're not letting him eat a baby, Blake. Unless that's what you'd prefer, then by all means, keep running your mouth.
High talk from the man not playing bait.
Both of you knock it off. Blake, keep the comms clear and start walking. Sean, your men in position?
Yeah, we're ready to go. All we need is our guest of honor.
Jimmy, the containment spell is laid, correct? We can't afford a single slip-up. Jimmy? Jimmy, do you copy? Silence answers, and I curse under my breath. Not even a chirp of static buzzes in my ear. What is he doing? We don't have time for this. Phantom heat flares against my chest as the clock on the magician runs down. Sean walks over to me, ripping his earpiece from his ear. His military mask locks securely in place as he nearly bumps chests with me.
No more half-cocked plans, right?
I smooth my hair back out of my face, retreating a step. Just give him a minute. Sean glares daggers at me before setting off to pace a trench into the forest floor. We've given ourselves a half-mile radius to work with, planting Sean's men along our projected route. Once the red man slips into the circle, Jimmy will be able to subdue him, and I will be able to strike the killing blow, giving him little chance to pull any of his notorious pranks. The dense lush woods of Great Mesa National Park may afford him plenty of range to hide, but hunting is what Sean and his team do best. My earpiece crackles, Jimmy's voice coming in a low hush.
Charles, Sean, do you copy? There's something out here with me.
I pinch the bridge of my nose, trying not to explode over the comms. Well, that's the plan, isn't it, Jimmy? Make sure you stay on comms. If your circle is already set, then maybe you can just lure the thing in yourself.
Whatever it is, it's stalking the containment spell. I don't sense any power yet, but that doesn't mean it's an animal.
Probably just friendly old Pooh Bear looking for his honeypot. Tighten up, Jimmy. My men and I don't have all night for you to play grab-ass with a bear.
I may need your help over here, Sean.
Are there really bears out here? I did not sign up for fucking bears.
Even if there are bears, we can handle them. This isn't amateur hour. Jimmy is the circle.
Ah!
Jimmy? Damn it! I take off in the direction of the containment circle, Blake and Sean hot on my heels. The forest undulates beneath my feet as roots and tree limbs jet into my path, becoming a massive obstacle course. Shouts and gunshots sound behind us as Sean's men follow suit.
Jerry, what the hell's going on back there?
Sean, we have to keep going. Sean tries one more time to reach his men, shouting directions, trying to give them order in the chaos behind us. But it seems the forest is hell-bent on segregating our units. A sinking feeling in my gut tells me it's the red man attempting to keep us from reaching Jimmy. I silently hope all this commotion is for a bear, so I can tear Jimmy a new one. Half a mile was a lot to cover, but we could not afford the red man getting the better of us and slipping through our grasp. The sharp cry had me slapping the piece from my ear before Jimmy's voice filtered through again.
Charles! Charles, do you copy?
I wedged the spongy earbud back in, my lungs burning from early exertion. I read you! What the hell is going on? Jimmy groans into my ear and I catch furrowed expressions from Blake and Sean.
Some hunters left a trap up. I ran from, well, whatever is out here right into some idiot's spring trap.
We slow our pace, my rage simmering to a boil. Blake begins to snicker, a smart comment ghosting their lips before I silence them with a look. There was too much riding on this mission for me to fail on account of stupidity. The earpiece buzzes as Jimmy starts mumbling.
I hate to sound like a broken record, but there's definitely something out here. I need someone to cut me down and fast. I think whatever is out here is circling back.
We're on our way. How far did you get from your original position?
About 25, maybe 30 feet east of the circle. Can you hurry up? All the blood is rushing to my head.
Good. Maybe it'll make you think better, instead of scampering around the woods and wasting everyone's time.
I shot a look at Sean, but he didn't budge on his statement. He's right, and he knows it. Time is not on our side. Who leaves a spring-loaded trap up through the night? I know some dumb hunters in these parts who get so deep in the bottle they can't tell their nethers from their rifles, but none of them are idiotic enough to leave spring traps up. A thought niggles at the base of my skull as dull male laughter fills through the trees.
Jimmy, please tell me you're giddy from dangling upside down like a prized trout.
Help! Help!
Jimmy's screams of pure terror harmonize with the disturbing laughter, and we pick up the pace toward the sound. My feet pound the earth as our night takes a turn for the worst.
Help!
If this thing was able to take Jimmy, either it's smarter than we thought, or I overestimated my warlock. But failure isn't an option.
This way! It's taking me this way!
both sounds cut off, the night silence pressing in once more as the three of us barrel to Jimmy's location. As I crest a patch of trees, I stop short as my eyes take in the disturbed clearing and the cut snare line dangling from the canopy.
What the fuck is going on?
I survey the clearing as Sean stoops to examine the forest floor. Sometimes I forget that Sean was raised beneath sea level. The air in the mountains probably feels thinner to him than to me, but it doesn't stop him from doing his job. His trained eyes latch onto dragged indents in the dirt, highlighted by our flashlights. My own light sweeps the scene, snagging on the clear plastic piece of Jimmy's earpiece. My teeth grind as Sean rises, turning to me.
Looks like we underestimated the red man.
No, I think he just wants to play a game. I clench the magician card. The swishing lights make it look more menacing as I stare. He could be pranking us, but something tells me the deal is still on. I just have to give him a life and he will come quietly. A life for a life. Sounds reasonable enough for a supernatural entity. Doubt tries to swallow me into submission, telling me I can't do what needs to be done, but I have no choice. I stalk in the direction of the drag marks in Jimmy's voice, Blake and Sean bringing up the rear. Sean tries to contact his team again, but it matters little to me at this point. I have my prey in sight, and the bastard isn't escaping. The red man decided to take his pick out of the lives I brought with me. That might have been okay if he didn't take the one person I need the most. He's going to learn. I'd rather watch them all burn than forego my purpose. All of them, except Jimmy. But now, he has the upper hand. I've got to figure out a way to trick him, or how to give him what he wants that won't ruin all my plans. The trail is easy enough to follow. Ugly slashes into the dirt every few feet shows Jimmy at least put up a fight. Under the waning moon, the trail parts before us. And if I didn't know these woods like the back of my hand, I'd have sworn we were in a meadow overlooking the cliff faces of Air. Lush green knolls yawned before us, the sound of crashing waves whispering in the distance. A spherical stone mound with a thatched moss exterior sat silently in the clearing. A single curl of smoke pluming into the midnight sky from a tin chimney.
Holy shit.
Sean grunts in agreement as we take in the mirage. The base of my skull itches as the pressure of my task threatens to capsize me. It's now or never. Discarding my jacket, my hand grazes over the handle of the dagger on my hip. A gift from Sean. One he felt was the most appropriate weapon for the task before me. Cool silver greets my fingers as I unsheath the blade and hold it under the moon's eye. Runes dance along its ancient spine as I steady my breathing, its ruby pommel winking at each of us. I asked Sean where he found it, but he merely shrugged. A conquest from his military days when missing artifacts went unnoticed. The only clue of its age was the faded red cross etched neatly at its base. A noble blade called through time to once again ride the side of a knight. But do I truly hold the pious nature as the knights seated at the fabled table? Or was I akin to the men they damned to hell? My hand shook as we crossed the field, my mind churning with doubt. This may all be for her, but was it right to take the red man's life in exchange for my mother's own? We positioned ourselves outside the only door. The stone home held no windows in its frame, save for the one etched at the crown of the door. Sean peered through the grim-coated frame before settling back against the wall.
Window's dirtier than a whore's mouth. I can't see shit in there.
Then we go in blind.
What if this is the main trap? Lure us here and then string us up like roasted pigs?
Scared of actually getting your hands dirty, pup?
I'm not scared of shit, you old dog. I'm just saying. Seems like we are more likely to join Jimmy as Red Man Chow, and frankly, I am more of a snack than a meal.
It doesn't matter if it's a trap. We're going in. With a nod to Sean, he stepped back and kicked the door in. We moved like liquid through the opening, weapons drawn and ready. The space was nothing more than a hovel. A crumbling wooden table sat at the center of the room. A single rocking chair pushed back and creaking softly. A fireplace with a large black cauldron was posed at the far end of the wall, and next to it, a wriggling, mud-riddled burlap sack.
Here! I'm over here!
With a few quick strides, I crossed the room and untied Jimmy from the sack. He burst from the opening, eyes wild as he wavered for a moment before falling over. Nice of you to join us.
Nice of you to finally show up. That thing smells like moldy dead skin.
If you hadn't been fooling around, you wouldn't have been in there either. But here we are. Good job on getting us here, you bumbling fuck.
I'd like to see how you'd fare against the things I've seen.
Enough! Where is the Red Man, Jimmy? Jimmy narrows his eyes at my tone as he dusts dirt and leaves from his clothes. I ignore him. My ire is greater than his. A ticking resonates through the room, but the others don't seem to notice. A grandfather clock with hands made of tarnished brass, slowly whispering in my ear. Time is up. Jimmy!
I can't sense him. He's more intelligent than we thought. That or just naturally protective of himself.
Well, isn't this a straight clusterfuck?
The clusterest of fucks.
There's a revealing spell I can try.
Don't just stand there. Cast your revealing spell. There has to be... The stone hovel begins to shake. Sooty, acrid debris sprinkled from the ceiling like foul confetti as manic laughter bounces against the walls. An invisible hand slams the front door shut, just as heavy rain pelts the outer shell.
Move in, back to back.
We moved as one, my shoulders pressing hard into Sean and Jimmy's backs, my dagger posed toward the room, waiting for my moment. We take in the room as an abominable wind tries to throw us off our feet. As a unit, we rotate, each of our shoulders tensed in defensive readiness.
There!
My head swiveled to the side as a red blur vanishes around a shadow. Sean's gun fires into an empty space, his bullets only finding the wall for a home. I turn my face toward Jimmy as the wind batters our faces and beastly predators scratch and bray at the door. Jimmy, do the spell here! Jimmy frantically pats his pockets, the color draining from his face.
I don't have any salt to cast the containment.
A laugh rumbles against the floor. The boards buck and buckle under our feet. Red streaks pass my face, a toothy smile gleaming against a sea of red.
You slimy bastard, quit mocking us and show yourself.
Mocking?
I crane my neck as Blake mutters to themselves before they begin to laugh. I'm half certain they've lost it before they bellow.
That's it. Na, duaun, mach, oram.
The room freezes as time stops. Silence filling the wake of the storming chaos around us, almost too jarring for my battered senses. Before me stands a short man with eyes black as pitch. An oversized red shirt and pants lay limply against frail, sallow skin. His hunched posture allows for his gray beard to tickle the floorboards, but does little to hide his deranged, toothless grin.
Holy shit, it fucking worked.
What? What did you do?
Apparently what you couldn't. I was researching for this mission, brushing up on the Red Man, when I stumbled across a phrase in Gaelic. Say the phrase, "Do not mock me," in its native tongue, and the Red Man shall mock you no more. All that fancy-ass magic, and I would have thought you'd be able to stop him, Jimmy. Looks like I just became the most valuable member of the team.
Blake, is he contained?
Contained is a strong word there. Subdued would be more accurate. But we should be able to grab him now.
Good. I step forward, my doubt no longer holding me back. The Red Man begins to laugh, low at first, but growing steadily as he takes in the room. his eyes landing on each intruder. I know what he sees, his question niggling in my mind like a worm. Which one of these men is his prize, his payment for our bargain? I curse myself for hastily giving chase. I had a plan. The promising young 20-something Sean recruited for this endeavor was my offer for the Red Man. My plan B if we couldn't trick him with Blake as bait. But now, I have no one. Like a fool, I acted first instead of leading with caution. A mistake I will not make again on this road.
Charles, what are you doing?
The ticking grows louder as I stare down the Red Man. Bells chime like they did the night he first came to me. He knows. He sees the intent in my mind, and a viscous acceptance leaks into my mind. His black eyes twinkle with a nefarious glow as he utters his first and only words. His mouth moves with a Gaelic tongue, but his intent echoes in my head, outside of any language. His meaning is clear. My blade sings, dividing the space between us, along with the head from the Red Man's shoulders. His head thumbs and rolls onto the cobbled floor, eyes still shining with wicked glee. My breath comes in shallow gasps as the room holds its collective breath in the wake of my betrayal. I know what my companions are thinking, screaming at my back as I stare at the malign smile of the now dead Red Man. What was the price for breaking the deal with him? What now, Jimmy?
The card! Hold the face card out to him.
I pull the magician from my back pocket and do as instructed. Heat emanates from the card in my hand. The sensation of holding my hand within a flame is almost unbearable, but I withstand it. The air inside the tiny home grows thick with pulsating power before an explosion of dark wings and high-pitched screams erupt from the card. I want to step back, to look away from the frenzied beasts called forth in the card's depths to greedily collect their reward. Midnight wings swarm the Red Man's body as large talon-like appendages crunch bones and serpent tongues lap at the pools of blood on the floor. No morsel is too small as the creatures within the card gorge themselves on every last drop. My stomach riots, but I don't look away. The room disintegrates along with the last dregs of the Red Man's magic, body and soul, as the beasts stream into the magician, and we are surrounded by dark woods once more.
Well, I am never fucking sleeping again.
It really just ate him. The tome said it would, but I didn't expect it to be like that.
The radio blares to life as Sean's team comes through loud and clear. Sean reports that we have what we came for, and to meet back at the rendezvous point. Jimmy moves to my side as I flip the satiated tarot card to face us. The magician now glimmers red in the moonlight, its image no longer a mere outline, but a complete image of a macabre magician performing dark magic in a meadow in an even darker forest surrounding it, shimmering vermilion with the blood of the Red Man, like a glossy finish over the card.
Did any of you catch what it said before Charles killed it?
It's more Gaelic is all I know.
Luck will not be on your side.
So what, he just cursed us? Or just you? Would be great if it was only for you, boss.
I don't think it means anything. Just a last cryptic message to throw us off our game.
The supernatural do not speak lightly. It may have been a warning.
We killed it and fed it to the first card. I think that calls for a small celebration.
1 down, 77 to go.
Actually, it's only the major arcana cards that need the sacrifice.
Even better.
I brush past them all as Sean's men finally make it to the clearing, some looking worse for wear. I see the same amount of bodies that were with us before we were separated, so Sean will be happy about that. But I don't make it far before I hear the crunching of leaves as he catches up to me.
Charles, my men know what they signed up for, but
nothing. The original plan worked. Use bait, kill the thing. We did that. I will not have you chastising me when I just potentially saved everyone's life. No one was taken. No one was even seriously hurt. This is probably the easiest hunt we're going to get. Count it as a win and move on. I push forward. I wasn't letting anything ruin the high of this moment. We actually did it. A small weight lifts from my chest as my mother's healthy face wavers in my mind. Nothing was going to stop me from turning that face into a reality. A second face blooms over the image of my mother. A vision of beauty, like the last time I saw her. If I'm able to save my mom, then maybe, just maybe, I can save her as well.